All right, welcome, welcome. Our gentle yoga series, our nice frosty Monday morning here in Covington. Invite you all to find that comfortable seat and begin to elongate the spine and come to the breath. Glad to see Bill back from vacation, all healthy and ready to move. We have arrived physically. I could take this time at the beginning of class in hopes of arriving mentally, emotionally. And taking this opportunity to check in with ourselves. How are we feeling this morning? Always have that opportunity to observe the natural rhythm of our breath. Maybe you connect with the rise and fall of the chest. Maybe we follow the air as it enters and exits the nostrils. Maybe we add visualization, imagining those inhales, pulling that breath up from the tailbone, all the way up to the crown of the head. And then as we exhale, setting it back down. Infinite number of ways to come to the breath. And to slow down our nervous systems, taking us out of that fight, freeze, bringing us into that rest and digest. I hope you are finding one that works for you. And your next inhale, we're inhaling deeply, feeling belly, ribs, and chest. Maybe adding in one more sip at the top and then slowly releasing out the nose. And one more big, deep three-part breath. Torso, ribcage fully expanding, and then that slow release. And next inhale, we're inhaling both arms up overhead. And exhaling, hands to heart center. And again, inhaling both arms up overhead. Exhaling, hands to heart center. And from here, our hands make our way to our knees. And we're in our seated position, either in a chair, on a mat, or props. And returning to the natural rhythm of our breath. Eyes can be closed here, soft gaze downward. And on your next inhale, we're inhaling into that cow pose, squeezing shoulder blades together, raising the gaze. And then as we exhale, tucking chin to chest, rounding the spine, shoulder blades pulling apart, finding that cat back stretch. And then extending that inhale all the way through that cat back stretch. Long, slow breath in. Finding that slight pause and then long, slow exhale all the way through that cat back stretch. Taking this opportunity, connect your breath with your movement. Continuing this at your pace. Started on that inhale. We're going to finish on that exhale. One more round. Meeting in that cat back stretch, pausing there, shoulder blades pulling apart, just extending the arms forward. Don't have to put pressure on the knees, but we can just pull the arms apart. And then on your next inhale, we're returning to that tall neutral spine, settling in as we exhale. Next breath in, or inhaling, both arms up overhead. And then as we exhale, twisting right, that right hand comes behind the chair, maybe it places on the floor, and left hand finds the outside of the right knee. Take a breath in, sit tall, and as we exhale, gaze over the right shoulder. Generate that twist with that left palm. Your next inhale. Inhaling, both arms up overhead, slowly uncurling as we exhale, twisting left. Left hand coming behind, right hand finds the outside of the left leg. Take a breath in, sit tall, and then generate that twist. Want that spine nice and tall if we're putting any extra pressure into that twisting. And your next inhale, we're slowly uncurling both arms up overhead. And then as we exhale, one more time on the right. When that left hand rises, take that breath in, sit tall, exhale. Generate that twist. Still just warming up, nothing too intense here. Adding that gaze, we can add that neck stretch as well. And staying with your breath on your next inhale, we're slowly uncurling both arms up overhead. And then as we exhale, left side one more time. When that right hand lands, breath in, sit tall, exhale. Generate that twist, maybe add that neck stretch. Your next inhale, slowly uncurling both arms, coming up overhead. And from here, finding our seated volcano, slight back bend, raising the gaze, still squeezing shoulder blades together. And your next inhale, returning to that tall neutral spine, interlacing fingers, pointers extended. And then on an exhale, side bend right. One long, slow exhale, and we're inhaling right back up to that tall neutral spine. And exhale, side bend left. Inhale right back up. Exhale to the right, and this time holding. Maybe dropping that right hand down to the hip, the chair, the mat. Leaning that left a little further over, maybe adding some shoulder circles here as well. And your next inhale. And right arm raises up, and then as we exhale, side bend left, maybe biceps squeeze the ears. Maybe we drop that left hand down for support. Lean a little deeper. Maybe we add those shoulder circles. And then your next inhale, left arm rises up overhead, and we're exhaling, hands to heart center. And then making our way to standing. Bringing our props to the top of the mat, chair with the seat facing us, maybe blocks at the top of the mat. Where do we like to place our hands for those down dogs? Blocks, mat, chair. And we're finding our mountain pose. Feet about hip distance apart. Toes gripping down into the mat. Spreading those toes wide, getting that nice firm grip. Checking, do we have that soft bend in the knees? That pelvis have that slight tilt in as the spine tall, shoulders relaxed and down, chin parallel. Is the breath deep? Taking 2 more cleansing breaths here. Big, deep inhale in this mountain pose. Long, slow exhale. 1 more big, deep 3-part breath, filling belly, ribs, and chest. Exhaling, letting it go. And then next inhale, inhaling, both arms up overhead. Exhale, hinging at the hips, forward fold. Inhaling, half lift, flat back. Exhale, fold, and just letting gravity take over. First forward fold of the day. Just taking this opportunity to check in with your body. Stillness is an option. We can play into putting weight in the heels, weight in the toes, rocking back and forth, maybe grabbing opposite elbows. Maybe shaking the head, yes, shaking the head, no. Just giving that low back some time under tension. 1 more big breath in. And out. And then on your next inhale, with soft bend the knees, we're ragdolling up. Arms dangling, shoulders, neck, head. Last thing to arrive back in that mountain pose. And then we exhale, shoulders back and down. Inhaling, both arms up overhead. Exhale, hinging at the hips, forward fold. Inhale, half lift, flat back. Exhale, fold, placing hands, left foot steps back, followed by the right. Pressing hips up and back, downward dog. And here we can get right into the hamstrings, pedaling the feet out, bending one knee, dropping the opposite heel a little closer to the mat. Upper back, shoulder blades, pressing away through the palms, dipping that head down. We can raise the hips up towards the ceiling as well. We could try to do all 3. We're going to take an inhale here and all come up onto tiptoes. And then as we exhale, sink heels down, press away through the palms, raise the hips up 1 more time. Inhale, tiptoes, soft bend of the knees. Exhale, press away. And 1 more time, inhale, up onto tiptoes. Exhale, press away through the palms, dip that head down, sink those heels in. And then next inhale, soft bend the knees, gazing at the hands, and we're slowly walking the feet up to meet the hands. And exhaling, forward fold. Inhale, half lift, flat back. Exhale, fold. Next inhale, reverse swan dive, soft bend the knees, arms going out and up. Maybe finding that slight back bend at the top. And exhaling, hands to heart center. 1 breath in. And return to mountain. Pedal the feet out, adjust our base, wiggle those toes. Feeling secure, feeling strong in our foundation. Staying with your breath on your next inhale. Inhaling, both arms up overhead. Exhale, hinging at the hips, forward fold. Inhale, half lift, flat back. Exhale, fold, placing hands, right foot steps back, followed by the left. Pressing hips up and back. Downward dog, another big breath in here. And out. And then next inhale, we're floating out to plank. And we're holding right here, pressing away through the palms, shoulder blades pulling apart, core engaged, nice long line, heels to the crown of the head. 1 more breath in. And then as we exhale, we're slowly lowering elbows, brushing the rib cage, inhaling into that upward dog, dropping the hips straight into arms, raising the gaze, exhale, hips up and back. Downward dog. Another big breath in. And out. Next inhale, gazing at the hands, soft bend the knees. We're slowly walking feet up to meet the hands. And exhale, forward fold. Inhale, half lift, flat back. Exhale, fold. Next inhale, reverse swan dive, arms going out and up. Maybe find that slight back bend at the top. And exhaling, hands to heart center. And again, inhaling, both arms up overhead. Exhale, hinging at the hips, forward fold. Inhale, half lift, flat back. Exhale, fold, placing hands, left foot steps back, followed by the right, pressing hips up and back, downward dog, a big breath in. Exhale, let it go. Next inhale, right leg rises. Exhaling, knee to nose, stepping it through, and then walking that back foot back a little bit. Now, if we're using blocks, we can keep our foot right where it's at. If we're using a chair, we're just going to angle that right foot out just a little bit. And then as we inhale, dipping in to that right knee, raising the gaze. And as we exhale, tucking chin to chest, rounding the spine. Straightening that right leg. We're doing cat-cow with the torso and then just bending and straightening that right leg with the lower half. Left leg is extended long, toes are curled. We're getting a little stretch there. If you feel a little more room, if you have a little more room to play, walk that left foot back. Taking about one more round here. One more time. Inhale, dip and sink into that hip. And then as we exhale, tucking chin to chest, rounding the spine. Pausing here, chin tuck, right leg is straight, maybe toes raised. And saying good morning to that hamstring. And your next inhale, finding our high lunge base, we're dropping that right foot down. And then as we exhale, right foot steps back to meet the left, pressing hips up and back, downward dog, a big breath in. Exhale, let it go. Option to flow, inhaling out to plank. Exhale, slowly lower. Inhale, back bend. Exhale, down dog. Another big breath in and out. Inhaling, left leg raises. Exhale, knee to nose, stepping it through. Feet can stay right there with the blocks, with the chair. Angle that left foot out. Inhale, dip in. Find that cow stretch. As we exhale, tuck chin to chest, round the spine, press away, straightening left leg, and then taking this at your pace. Connecting your breath with your movement. And feeling free to explore those pauses as well. If you want to hold one of these stretches, hold it for a breath or two. If you're feeling it, you're doing it. About one more round here. One more time, dipping in on that inhale. And then next exhale, we're pressing away, tucking chin to chest, rounding the spine, pausing here. Maybe toes lift on that left foot. Maybe right heel sink down. Press away through the palms. And your next inhale, high lunge base. Left foot lowers onto the toe pads of the right foot. Exhaling, left foot steps back to meet the right. Pressing hips up and back, downward dog, big breath in. Exhaling, let it go. Option for a flow, inhaling out to plank. Exhale, slowly lower elbows, brushing the rib cage, inhaling into that upward dog, and exhale, hips up and back. Downward dog. Big breath in and out. And next inhale, soft bend the knees, gazing at the hands, slowly walking feet up to meet the hands. And exhale, forward fold. Inhale, half lift flat back. Exhale, fold. Next inhale, reverse swan dive, arms going out and up. Maybe finding that slight back bend at the top and exhaling, hands to heart center. One breath in and return to mountain. Pedal the feet out, get the wiggles out, and maybe close the eyes and that soft gaze as we Make our way back to stillness. One more standing series. Staying with your breath on your next inhale. Inhaling, both arms up overhead. Exhale, hinging at the hips, forward fold. Inhale, half lift, flat back. Exhale, fold, place hands, right foot steps back, followed by the left. Pressing hips up and back, downward dog. Inhaling here, right leg rises. Exhale, knee to nose. Stepping it through. And then even before we rise, after those little hip stretches, do we have room? Can that left foot walk back any? Do we feel like our edge has increased? And we're going to float the fingers, engage in the core, and then on an inhale, we're slowly rising. Beautiful, beautiful. Exhale, sinking in. Another breath in, lengthening, reaching, stretching, strength all the way through the pinky fingers. And then your next exhale, we're finding our triangle base. We're dropping that back heel, straightening the front leg. And then arms out to a T, palms facing the left side of the mat, and we're gazing over that right thumb. And then from here on, inhale, beginning to reach that right arm forward. It's like we're trying to shake someone's hand. We can't reach anymore. Drop the right arm down, left arm up towards 12 o'clock. And we choose our gaze, add the neck stretch. And then with that right hand, we can generate that twist, pressing into the inside of the right knee or right thigh. One more breath in here and out. And then next inhale, reversing the triangle, using the core, keeping the arms at a T. We're rising up and then leaning it back. Left hand travels down that back leg. Right arm reaches up, nice long line, fingers to toes on that right side body. Choosing our intensity. How active do we want to be here? We can stretch this arm up, trying to grab those ceiling tiles. One more big breath in here, long as we can get on that right side body. Then as we exhale, we're cartwheeling hands down, bending into the right knee, pivoting left foot forward. And then when our hands arrive, right foot steps back to meet the left, pressing hips up and back, downward dog, big breath in. Exhaling, let it go. Option for a float, inhaling out to plank. Exhale, slowly lower. Inhale, back bend. Exhale, down dog. Another breath in here. And out. Next inhale, left leg rises. Exhaling, knee to nose. Stepping it through. And we may already be at our edge, floating our fingers, engaging the core, rising on an inhale. Exhale, sinking in. A double check in. Do we have any room in that right foot? We're high up on the toe pads. We have that knee over ankle alignment. We're looking good. Strength all the way through the fingertips, arms reaching up high. One more breath in, reaching. And then as we exhale, triangle pose. Pivot in the back foot, toes facing the right side of the mat, arms out to a T, and then we begin to hinge forward. Once we can't hinge anymore, let that left arm drop down, right arm towards 12 o'clock. Use that left hand, press into the inside of that left leg, generate the twist, stack the shoulders. Choose the gaze, add the neck stretch. Your next inhale, reversing the triangle, arms stay at a T, using the core. Right hand travels down that back leg. Now left arm reaches up, and we have that nice long line, fingers to toes, left side body. Rib cage expanding, maybe getting a little shoulder stretch in as we raise that arm up. One more breath in here. And then long, slow exhale, cartwheeling hands, pivoting, right foot bending into left knee. Everything arrives. Placing hands in left foot, steps back to meet the right, pressing hips up and back, downward dog, big breath in. Exhale, let it go. And then option to flow. Next inhale, floating out to plank. Exhale, slowly lower. Inhale, back bend. Exhale, down dog. Another big breath in here. Exhale, let it go. Next inhale, gazing at the hands, soft bend the knees, slowly walking feet up. And exhale, forward fold. Inhale, half lift, flat back. Exhale, fold. Next inhale, reverse swan dive, arms going out and up, maybe finding that slight back bend at the top. And exhaling, hands to heart center. One breath in and return to mountain. Wonderful, wonderful. From here, props on their highest setting, if we're using block. We're going to return to our mountain pose. And then from here, we're inhaling both arms up overhead. And we're sliding that left foot back. We're preparing for pyramid pose. So about 1 foot, 18 inches. Now as we exhale, we're hinging at the hips, rounding the spine. And placing, letting our hands fall on the props. Or maybe they dangle down by the ankles. Hands or forearms on the chair. Hands can be dangling down. And here we're playing into that right knee. Bending, straightening, adjusting that hip position. We have the props at the top of our mat. On our next inhale, we're inhaling up to half lift, flat back. Placing hands on our props as we settle in, and then on your next inhale, left leg rises, and we find that warrior three. Still have that soft bend in that right knee on that left foot. Foot is flexed, pinky toe spinning down, promoting neutral hips, and pressing that foot away like there's an imaginary wall behind us. One more breath in. Hands returning to our props. And then as we exhale, we're slowly lowering that left leg back down into our pyramid pose. And then releasing the arms and lowering down as well, back into that right hamstring. Slight bending and straightening and maybe adjusting the hips. Pressing right hip back, left hip forward. And from here, we're interlacing fingers, pointers extended. And on your next inhale, we're slowly uncurling. We're rising for a count of 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Stepping left foot forward, stepping right foot back. And then on an exhale, lowering down, pyramid pose. Letting the spine round, letting the hands fall where they may. And then back into that left hamstring. Slight bending and straightening of the knee. No stress, no strain here, just the weight of the torso. Gravity is doing the work. Our job is just to breathe. Allow the body to soften in. Allow yourself the opportunity to release some tension. Your next inhale, we're rising up, half lift, flat back, hands on the props. Focus onto that left foot, spreading the toes wide, gripping the mat, and then on an inhale, right leg rises. Foot is flexed, pinky toe spinning down, promote the neutral hips, gaze is down, neck in line with the spine, then choosing our adventure with our hands, stay on the props, heart center, maybe behind us in the airplane, maybe out in front in that streamlined position. Where do they need to be? Loving the options. Just one more big breath in here, pressing that right foot away. And then as we exhale, hands on our props, and we're slowly lowering that right foot back down into our pyramid base. And then releasing the hands as well. Letting the torso hang. From here, interlacing fingers, pointers extended. Your next inhale, slowly uncurling on that count of 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Right foot steps forward, heels in, toes out. And then on an exhale, we're lowering down, squat, making our way to the mats. When we get down into this squat, I want you to take this however you wish. We can lower down into stillness. We can pulse up and down. We can wiggle side to side. We can choose anywhere we wish for our hands, heart center, on our props. How is this squat speaking to you today? What can you get out of this? And then eventually placing our hands, making our way down onto our bums. And then we are not going to skip any of the relaxing today. We're going to take that halftime break in Shavasana. We can only core opportunity is slowly lowering with control. We can slowly lower down onto our back. Finding that halftime Shavasana. Excellent, excellent standing portion. From here, scooting our bums to the left side of our mat and rolling over onto our tummies. Finding that Advasana, that prone pose. And here, options for the hands. We can bring the one hand resting on top of the other, lowering the forehead down. Next, as we prepare for back bends, we're going to slowly bring our Palms about mid-chest and allow our chin to find the mat, extend the legs long. Finding as much length in the legs as we can, tops of the feet on the mat. And then we're starting off with baby cobra. On our inhale, we press down on the tops of the feet. And with elbows squeezed into the chest, peel a couple ribs off the mat. Little to no weight in the hands here. Fingers are maybe even floating. Gaze is down, neck in line with the spine. One more big breath in here. And then exhaling, slowly lowering with control, taking a cheek, adding that little neck stretch, ankles falling to the side. Returning the chin to the mat. Preparing for round 3 on an inhale. Press down on the tops of the feet. Raise the kneecaps. Maybe peel a couple ribs off of the mat. One more breath in here, raising up just a little bit higher. Then as we exhale, slowly lowering with control, taking opposite cheek. Extending our arms out long. And then next up is half locust. Now we can attempt palms down and wiggling the hands underneath the thighs. If that is not comfortable, obviously we will do palms up. We're gonna get the hands underneath the thighs. Bring the chin to the mat. Find that length in the legs. Walk those toes long. Then on an inhale, feet hover. Peel a couple ribs off of the mat. Stretching the toes out. Find a little length. Anytime we're raising those feet up, we want to find that length first and then raise them maybe just a little higher. Maybe pull one more rib off of the mat. And then on an exhale, we're slowly lowering, taking opposite cheek. Ankles falling out to the side. Returning chin to the mat. Walking legs long, half locust again. Next inhale, feet hover, peel a couple ribs off the mat. Gaze is down, neck is still in line with the spine. Find that length, find that stretch. Maybe raise the toes up a little higher, peeling one more rib off the mat. And then on an exhale, slowly lowering. Taking opposite cheek, ankles falling to the side. We're wiggling our hands out. And now we're going to stretch it out. We're bringing palms back to mid-chest and then beginning to press into them and eventually bringing elbows under shoulders, arms at the number 11. We're finding our Sphinx pose. Palms are flat on the mat, fingers spread wide. Feet comfortable distance apart. Press down on the tops of the feet. We're still hovering the kneecaps. Raise the gaze slightly. Shoulder blades slightly squeezed together. Chin is still parallel. And we can stay right here in Sphinx. It's supposed to be a gentle back stretch. We feel like we have room for a little more intensity, which is just an option, never a have to. These are just options. We can pivot on our elbows, palms, rooted down into the floor, and then straighten the arms. Raising the torso a little higher, finding that seal. And in front of the chest to press ourselves up and swing our legs back around front. And preparing for those forward folds. Option to raise the hips up on something. Maybe blanket or bolster. Allowing them to roll off the edge of that, kind of exaggerating that natural curve in the low back. And then we're going to start out with single head to knee, bringing the sole of the right foot into the left thigh. You have a block under that right hip, maybe one under the left knee, depending on how that's feeling. And then here we're inhaling, both arms up overhead. Twisting torso towards that left leg, and then starting that hinge with that back flat as far as we go, and then eventually dropping everything down. Chin tuck, spine rounds, hands fall where they may. And now just breathe. And it's been about 30 seconds. Next inhale, we're deep 3-part breath, filling belly, ribs, and chest. And then as we exhale now, we add a little bit of a stretch. Start creeping those hands forward. Your next inhale, slowly uncurling. Rising up one vertebra at a time, switching out our leg, switching out any props we found comfort with. And we're inhaling, both arms up overhead, turning torso towards that right leg, and then starting with that hinge, reaching as far as we go, and eventually chin drops, spine rounds, hands fall. And we're just letting gravity do the work. Next inhale, filling belly, ribs, and chest. And then on that exhale now, we start creeping forward, seeing if we've created any space. And your next inhale, slowly uncurling, rising up one vertebra at a time, extending both legs out long, and still that option for blocks underneath. We want feet comfortable distance apart here, however that looks for us. And then one time down the middle, inhaling both arms up overhead. And then as we exhale, hinging, reaching back flat as far as we can, and eventually dropping everything down. Next inhale, big deep breath. And now each exhale is an opportunity to soften. Your next inhale, again, slowly uncurling, rising up one vertebra at a time, removing our props, and now bringing legs wide. And then this time, trying things out depending on how we are feeling. I want you to experiment a little and see what feels good for you. We can come right down the middle, we could cross this over, we can make it a kind of a side bend with the shoulders stacked. Are there any of these options or any gentle yoga. This is our only really core we're getting in today. Slowly lower, and from here we're gonna make our way into supported bridge inversion. And the couple I'd like to offer with the block, we can do our supported bridge, the legs up the wall. If you like plow or shoulder stand, probably better to not use the block. But starting out for our supported bridge, we're going to wiggle the shoulder blades together, rooted down through the soles of the feet and the shoulders, arms out by our side. On an inhale, we're pressing our hips up, scooting the shoulder blades together a little more, making a little more room to tuck the chin to the chest, raise the hips up a little higher and then eventually grabbing that block and then slowly lowering the tailbone down onto it, making any adjustments we want this to be. Feel comfortable, feel good on the low back. And now we are in our inversion. From here, we can add a little hip opener, bringing the soles of the feet together, allowing the knees to fall out to the side. And the heart is above the head. We're receiving the benefits of an inversion. We don't have to do anything else. You are comfortable here. Stay right here. Another option is the supported legs up the wall, bringing the knees into the chest and extending the legs up tall. There's also an opportunity for a plow, a shoulder stand if that's in your practice. From here, we're going to begin to slowly make our way back to that supported bridge. If we're in that supported legs up the wall or knees into the chest, we're just going to slowly lower the soles of the feet down to the mat. If we find ourselves in that cobbler, we're bringing our hands out to the outside of our thighs, gently guiding those legs together. Returning back to that supported bridge, scooting shoulder blades together. Arms out by our side on it. Inhale, pressing hips up and sliding that block out of the way. And then scooting shoulder blades together a little bit more, pressing the chin, hips up a little higher, tucking chin to chest, finding that bridge pose one more time. And then on an exhale, slowly lowering. One vertebra at a time, reconnecting with the mat. And then from here, we're briefly rolling onto one elbow and sitting ourselves up. I'm gonna offer supported fish today, and we're gonna use our block for this. We're gonna place this about where we think our shoulder blades might be at, and then slowly lower back onto the block. This may take a couple tries. We want it comfortably in the shoulders, and one way we're gonna check for comfort on this is we slowly lower down onto the block. How does our neck feel when we lower our head back? We want a little neck opening, but not too much. My head is resting on the mat. I found a good spot here. Block is right in between the shoulder blades. And it still takes 2 or 3 tries. Find that comfortable spot. From here, beginning to root down into our elbows with pressure on the elbows, lifting our backs off of the block and coming onto one side and removing that, and then coming right back down onto our backs. And then when we arrive, bending the knees, soles of the feet on the mat. We had that option for that little inner thigh opening in our supported bridge. We're going to add a little outer thigh to our twist. We're going to close with that pigeon twist, grinding down through the right foot. We're going to raise the left leg up and eventually crossing left ankle just above the right wrist. And then as we exhale, we're twisting right, allowing the sole of that left foot to rest comfortably. And maybe that's the floor, maybe that's on a block or a blanket. And we can gaze over the opposite shoulder. Relaxing the face, the eyes, the jaw. Beginning to let the tension go. Next inhale, slowly uncurling out of this twist. Allowing the sole of the right foot to find the mat, and then switching sides, extending left leg up, lowering it down to meet the right, and then right leg rises. Right ankle crosses just above the left knee. And then we're twisting left, gazing right. Next inhale, begin slowly coming out of this twist, allowing sole of the left foot to find the mat, and then extending the right leg up. We slowly lower it down to meet the left. Now we can release, we can counter any way, maybe windshield wipers, maybe pinky toes find their way to the edge of the mat, and we let the knees fall left and right. And at this time, I invite you to take any other final movements, final stretches, a double knee hug, a little self massage. It's always nice, rolling out the spine on the mat, maybe full body stretch, getting that last little bit of tension out, checking your body. What does your body need to come to rest? And then eventually making our way into Javasana. You know, any of the props are available, a blanket for a pillow or a neck rest. Blanket can go under the lumbar. Sometimes that can feel nice as well. Bolster under the knees, or maybe bolster under the ankles. Feet can come back into that cobbler position. We can close with another gentle hip opener. Anything at all. And once you've gotten nice and comfortable, there's always that option to bring the attention back to the breath. What is that way you connect best? Their personal meditation practice from home you like to bring into your relaxation. Beginning, deepen the breath. Maybe taking a deep 3-part breath here, feeling belly, ribs, and chest. Sending that exhale out to the fingers and toes. And to bring movement back to the body. And as we continue to deepen the breath and add a little bit more movement, oh, we can take any intuitive movements at all, anything that would feel good here, just like before, just like coming into relaxation. Come out as slowly, as comfortably as you need. Full body stretch, double knee hug, maybe finding, rolling onto our favorite side. Maybe a couple more moments of stillness. Stillness always an option as well. As we allow ourselves this time to get ready before starting the rest of our days. Eventually, we're making our way back to that comfortable seated position. We find that comfortable seated position on this very relaxing Monday. We have one more final opportunity for a little hip stretch, switching out the legs, crossing opposite ankle on top, wiggling out those sit bones. Just noticing this may feel a little different, this may feel a little uncomfortable, or maybe it's just unfamiliar. Closing with one final inhale, inhaling both arms up overhead. Gathering new energy for the day, exhaling hands to heart center, sealing that in, carrying that with us. And I thank you all so much for joining me. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Any questions, comments, concerns, feel free to speak to me after class. Have a wonderful, wonderful day. You're welcome, and glad to see everyone getting back from vacation.
I'd rather be the